Here we go. Woo! What's going on, my brothers? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to another Mad Professor broadcast. I hope that you brothers are well this evening. It is Friday night. And this is Friday Night Live. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you all have had an excellent, excellent week. It is June the 3rd. It's Friday, June the 3rd, 2022. This is the first weekend, actually, of June. And brothers, I'm going to make this the official declaration of summer right about here. And what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? I'm glad that you guys are in the place. There's a lot that we're gonna talk about on tonight. I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's uh, it's been a few weeks since I've done a live with a special guest, and I'm looking forward to my special guest. What's going on, Dre? Million, I see you, my brother. I see you. 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 We got 6 people that are viewing here tonight, and we're going to take our time tonight, and we're going to talk. What's going on, Universal 178? I see you, my guy. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. Welcome to the Mad Professor broadcast. Oh, there is so much for us to cover on this evening. You all see the thumbnail. You all see the thumbnail. You all see what's going on. If y'all don't know who my brother Charles Faulkner is, y'all need to go ahead and subscribe to Charles Faulkner and to his channel. Y'all go ahead and do the doggone thing. Officer Charles Faulkner Jr. is going to be with us this evening. Man, and we're going to have a good conversation. You guys who have watched The Wire, you guys who have watched The Corner, and most recently, you brothers who have watched the new show, which is called We Own the City. It's on HBO right about now. It is on HBO. And we have to talk about Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore is a major, major, major city. It truly is. There's so much that Baltimore has contributed in terms of history, in terms of culture, popular culture in particular. But more recently, Baltimore has taught us a lot about black men in America, black men, black boys also, and their condition with policing, politics, the so-called Black Lives Matter movement, so on and so forth. We're gonna talk tonight. We're gonna talk tonight. We're gonna talk tonight. We're gonna talk tonight. What's going on, Dewan Trades? I see you, my brother. I see you. I see you. But before we hop into our discussion and before our guest comes in, guys, we just want to cover a number of things that have been going on this week, guys. You you have to be somebody who is hiding under a rock have not if you have not witnessed what happened this week with Mr. Johnny Depp and Miss Amber Heard and the defamation trial that lasted 6 weeks that finally came to an end. with a verdict that was favorable to Mr. Johnny Depp. And guys, I put this on my community tab, and this is something that we're gonna have to talk about going forward, because this is a major case. Some would want to minimize the case because it involves actors. Johnny Depp is a famous actor. Has been around for more than 35 years, and Amber Heard, he's 58 years old. And Amber Heard is a much younger actress. She's 36 years old. There's a 22-year gap between these two people. And you all know what time it is, man. Johnny Depp fought, he struggled, he worked overtime to restore his reputation after it was completely destroyed by the Me Too accusations of Amber Heard. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I did not sit through every day of that trial. I couldn't sit through. That was a long trial, going back and forth. What he did, what she did, what he said, what she said, and all of that. But here's the point. Here's the point. Here's the point, guys. I've talked about this on my channels. I talked about this the first week that I came on YouTube, and I talked about the defamation of black men, the defamation of black men. And what exactly is a definite defamation of black men? It is simply the ways in which institutions, the ways in which popular culture, that is television, that is journalists, all elements of media, the ways in which regular people, women in particular, have spewed venom and vitriol and animus towards black men. And our 20th century case study, which really captures what defamation really looks like, is that 1985 film that was adapted from a book that was written by Alice Walker called The Color Purple, a book of fiction which was adapted into a film by Steven Spielberg in 1985. The Color Purple was written before 1985, and The Color Purple was written at the beginning of a different era, a new era, a second wave feminism, which brought black women into the fray, where there was a deliberate effort, which was very successful up until this day, in painting the most grotesque, monstrous, demonic image of African American men. And since that time, we have seen, since 1985, even before that, because this defamation project, if y'all saw my last stream when I dealt with feminism and black men online, the radicalization of black men online. If you go back to that video, I talked about Gloria Steinem, and I talked about the CIA. I talked about J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. I talked about Nshaki Shane and her choreo poem for colored girls who considered suicide when the rainbow was not enough. And that just led to a whole slew of works and corresponded, my guys, not only with a slew of works, but with policies, domestic policies, welfare policies, family court policies, child support, alimony, criminal justice policies, the crime policies of the 1980s and the 1990s, led by people like Joe Biden, implemented by Bill Clinton during his tenure. And all of that institutional work in terms of policy in addition to the idea that black men are deadbeat fathers, that black men are inept, that black men are violent, black men are criminal, black men are inherently evil, resuscitating, and giving new life to a white nationalist worldview that goes way, way back to the antebellum era. That is the era before the legal demise of slavery, and then moving into the 20th century, and it being dramatized by people in 1915, such as W.E.B. Griffith, the man who produced America's first major motion picture, which was the first blockbuster in the United States, known as Birth of a Nation. And The Birth of a Nation was revived in the 70s and has continued up into this time. And we've seen the effects of all of this mythology. So if anybody knows about defamation, guys, if anybody knows about defamation, it's black men. Black men know what it's like to have people to create myths and lies and legends about us that are simply not accurate. And I have to say this, black men are no different from any other men on the planet. We are no different from men in other parts of the world. We are no more violent than men of Anglo or European descent who came here as white settlers, who came here as immigrants. We are no different from men in other parts of the world, such as Russia, other parts of the world like Australia and New Zealand, parts of Asia, East Asia, South Asia, so on and so forth. Yeah, those men have engaged in acts of misconduct with respect to women. And whatever we have done, whatever may have done, uh, does not make us more heinous or more wicked than any of these human beings on the planet. I see you guys. I see the brothers in the house. I see you, AB Media. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. But here's the thing, guys. Here's the game. I see my guy. Here's the thing. Johnny Depp did something that was and is profound, because these charges that he dealt with, defamation, emerged right as Me Too came about around 2017, where Amber Heard went to the Washington Post, and what we've learned is that she was supported by the ACLU. The ACLU supported her in all of her endeavors and painted him as a boogeyman, which subsequently impacted his career, basically destroyed his career, impeded his ability to get work and to make a living as an actor. And this man, this famous man, this rich man, decided that he was going to stand up against himself, stand up for himself rather, because he was in complete odds and disagreement with what Miss Amber Heard had said about him. And the beautiful thing about this case, brothers, is that it was broadcast before the entire world. It was broadcast before the entire world, in front a civil case, in front of a jury of his peers. And the jury got to hear his side. It got to hear her side. It had the opportunity to weigh evidence. It had an opportunity to see instances where he was abused by her, and it had to see instances where he made some mistakes along the way due to his own acknowledgement of his substance abuse problem. But what was clear in this verdict, my guys, was that what she did to him was heinous and malicious, indefensible, and it represented the manner in which gender, female victimization can be weaponized against any man, any man. The way in which it has been weaponized against men in the United States. And this is a watershed moment, guys. This is a watershed moment. Guys, I need you to stand up for yourself. This is the reason why we are on YouTube. This is the reason why we have our space. This is the reason why we have our sphere. Because we are standing up for ourselves. We are not taking it like a man. The whole code, the whole etiquette of taking it like a man. Just sit back and allow someone to beat up on you, to pummel on you, to allow a woman to just lie on you in public and get away with it. That is something that is unacceptable. It is something that we will not support anymore. What's going on, my guys? What's going on? It's so good to see all you brothers. It's so good to see all you brothers, man. There's so much to talk about, by way of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and people are going to be talking about this case for a very, 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 very long time. Liberal feminism has taken a major L. It has taken a major blow. The whole doctrine and ideology of believe all women has been punctured. It has been shredded. It has been torn out the frame. And Amber Heard does not quite understand the gravity of what she did and the effects of the lies that she was caught up in, because, yeah, there are people who are truly victims. There are women who are victims of domestic assault and related things. And she is going to make it very, very difficult for people to accept and believe without any scrutiny claims that are made, violent claims about a man's behavior towards a woman. Stand up for yourself, my guys. I need y'all guys to stand up for yourselves. This man spent millions of dollars to get his name back. And it was for the sake of principle. And if you guys are familiar with, if you all have seen the verdict and the settlement and what have you, this woman is not in a position to pay him the money that he lost. But that was not the point. The point was for this person to stand up for himself and to not allow someone to completely destroy his life, including a woman. So we're not going to stand back and take L's. We're not going to stand back and treat people with kid gloves. We're not going to infantilize human beings. We're going to treat them in the way in which they say they want to be treated. You want equity? You want fairness? You want to be treated like an adult? Well, here you go. Here is equity. Here is equity. Here is fairness. Here is adult treatment. We are here. And I need you guys to stand up for yourselves. Stand up for yourselves, man. There's so many things that this case opens up in terms of dialogue as we go forward. I tell you, if you want to have a struggle, and this is for the feminists and the gynocrats out there, if you want to achieve real social justice and transformation, you got to work hard for it. You're not going to get it by taking cheap shots. You're not going to get it by taking shortcuts. You're not going to get it by not rolling up your sleeves. You're not going to get it through malicious acts and cruelty, because eventually you're going to get called out. Somebody is going to expose all of the nefarious ways in which you try to advance yourself in the world. Woo! Man. This is big. This is big. The other thing that I want to say, I just want to mention this because, and this is going to tie into our conversation tonight. I've been following the story. What's going on? We got 22 people who are viewing the stream. We got 22 people who are viewed in the stream, and um, and I'm going to bring in Charles Faulkner right shortly. But I've been watching this case coming out of Atlanta, the RICO case involving YSL and the rapper Young Thug and Gunna and all these other guys, um, and what's involved in terms of music and uh, guns, drugs, murder, the whole 9 yards. And we see a prosecutor in Atlanta, Georgia, who is working overtime to boost her career. This Atlanta DA rather, district attorney, she is working overtime to boost her career on the backs of Young Thug. I suspect that she has major political ambitions. I suspect that she might want to run for mayor of Atlanta. She might want to become a state attorney. She might want to become the governor of Georgia. She might have presidential ambitions. She might be another Kamala Harris in the making. And I want you guys to really pay attention to what's going on in Atlanta with this case, this RICO case involving these rappers, Young Thug, um, and the whole YSL crew. And they're using rap lyrics, music to prosecute these guys. And just so you know, guys, this is not new. This is something that's been going on for quite some time. Um, Rappers in New York City, Bobby Shmurda, Takashi 6ix9ine, rappers in Chicago, folks who are affiliated with Chief Keef, rappers like Lil Boosie in Louisiana. They were subject to prosecutors. Boosie is from Louisiana. But Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and he almost had a murder case pinned on him. He spent 6 years in the Louisiana State Penitentiary on a murder charge. Almost found himself sitting on death row as a result of that murder charge, and his music was used against him. And he had money, he had resources. He was able to fight that murder charge and beat that case. He was acquitted of murder. Okay, but these prosecutors don't care. These young guys are just talking recklessly, and we'll talk about some of that because there's a lot of rap music that's coming out of Baltimore that's also been used along these lines. So you guys keep this stuff on the radar, man, because we're going to come back to this. I've got a book right here that's called Rap Music on Trial. It's called Rap on Trial, and it's a book that's written by a law professor and an English professor, and it deals with a whole bunch of cases involving rap music and prosecutors all throughout the nation and the way in which rap is being criminalized. It's not the first time this has happened. There's a long history of that, and we have to keep our eyes on that. But without further ado, I'm not going to delay things. Our guest for tonight is here, and I'm going to introduce this brother right here. And some of you all know Officer Charles Faulkner. He has been a part of this space for years, since this space really began. And I first was introduced to him through BGS Idmore's channel when BGS did his Coliseum. You young guys who are new to the space, some years ago, BGS Idmore, if y'all know who BGS Idmore is, y'all go look him up. He is one of the persons who was very responsible for bringing people like Dr. T.S. Johnson in, Green Gorilla, along with myself and a whole bunch of other people. He was behind Kevin Samuels as well. And BGS Idmore had this enterprise which ran on Friday nights, 8-hour long streams called the Coliseum, where you have black men like Officer Charles, who would just talk about black men's issues. And I used to sit in the background. I never joined the Coliseum, but I used to sit in the background and listen to some of those streams on the East Coast, way into the wee hours of the night. 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning on my end, listening to these guys chopping it up. But this is Charles Faulkner. I'm sorry, Officer Charles Faulkner. This is the commander of Black Lion Security, military man, police officer, security force extraordinaire. I'm going to let him just talk to us and just share with you guys who are not familiar with his platform and just about his background. I'm going to have him speak with us. Officer Charles Faulkner, how you doing, brother?
Woo! How you doing, good doc?
Let me see it. Let me see it. Woo!
Woo! Gotta make the feeling. Oh man, it's funny because right now in today's world, I was reading up when I just left this date. We went shooting spot. Taught her how to shoot. Taught her how to shoot, but it was funny. I was reading on the highlights of like another shooting in Iowa.
Okay.
Like, I fundamentally, because of a guy of my experience, for those who don't know who I am the officer of the law, of the goddamn law, which is also trademarked, by the way, by me. So I spent nearly 15 years with the Baltimore Police Department as a patrolman.
Yes.
In the Northern District, York Road, Sector 2, 524 post, which was not only, at one time, that post was not one of the most dangerous posts in the city. It wasn't one of the most dangerous posts in the state. It was actually hailed by the FBI to be one of the top 5 dangerous posts in America.
Woo!
And with the efforts of myself and other officers, we actually had federal convictions on a very large drug enterprise during that time of gathering evidence. I spent 10 years in the military, 18 months in Iraq. I was part of the QRF, which is basically like quick reaction.
Hold on. We lost you. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay. People calling. And I was part of like a tactical team over there where we captured insurgents, did reconnaissance, humanitarian services like school supplies, help build schools, help protected schools.
Yes.
We actually did some investigations, all that. So, and currently I've actually established my own security firm, Black Lion Security Firm LLC. I am the CEO, the commander, the chief, whatever you want to call me, the colonel.
Yes,
Love that. And I'm also going to start a nonprofit organization to get funding to train young black men into the military and paramilitary arts to get them careers within this lucrative business of executive protection. So when we're looking at build another brother, we're going to build each other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Two things we always complain about, good doctor. We don't have enough men making enough money, and we don't have enough discipline. Hell, we'll take care of that in one fell swoop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And last but not least, one half of the Gray Faulkner Initiative. Shout out to my partner, Cerulean Gray. Woo!
There you go. Woo! Well, listen, man. I'm so glad that you're here tonight, man. And for the guys in the chat, I asked Officer Charles Faulkner to join this stream tonight because I think that we need to have this conversation. I've been following Baltimore for quite some time, and it is one of those cities that has stood out to me in terms of so many of the things rather that we talk about in our space. Man, I'm from Miami, Florida, man, and I'm gonna tell you, you just mentioned how on your end in Baltimore, um, you had a situation where the FBI had to come in. I'm gonna tell you, man, in my era, um, I grew up in Miami, South Florida. There's a part of South Florida that the world might know is called Liberty City. And if you guys are familiar with the rapper Trick Daddy, Trick Daddy is from Liberty City. He hails from what they call the Poke and Bean Projects, and there was a major strip in Liberty City, which was at the time it was notoriously known as just 15th Avenue. It was a major drug strip during the 1980s and the 1990s, man, and millions of dollars a day went through 15th Avenue, and it got so heinous, man, and lots of guys, were involved in that, man. That the federal government, man, they had to come in and basically shut down 15th Avenue. Okay, and a lot of those guys, they were, these are famous from Miami, and people like Rick Ross have made songs about a lot of those guys from that era and stuff like that. But it was crazy. They had a major drug war at that particular time, late 80s, early to mid 90s, and the government completely shut 15th Avenue down. And a lot of those guys, from my generation, man, I'm 48 years old, going on 49, and a lot of those guys are in prison now, man, doing fair time. Are never getting out. There are a lot of guys who are on death row in the state of Florida who were involved with trafficking during that time, man. And so um, when I looked at Baltimore, and even today, man, it's almost like looking at Liberty City all over again, bro. You know what I'm saying? And looking at the conditions, and as a young man, man, it just seems so bleak and it just seems so dire. You know what I mean? And people don't understand. The public, it's one thing, and that's why I'm bringing you in, man. So it's one thing to hear about these spaces through popular culture, and this is what we're going to talk about, man. Baltimore, has been portrayed in TV shows and HBO series such as The Corner, The Wire, and now most recently there's an HBO series now called We Own This City, which deals with cops in Baltimore, man. And before even this week, man, I was watching a bunch of documentaries, man, just on Baltimore and what's going on, and watching the leadership there and all that, man. And I was like, I got to bring in Officer Charles Faulkner, man. I've got to get the word, straight from the ground up, man, and talk about, what's going on and what we can do, um, as black men. And I'm happy that you have your business enterprise that's up and you're taking a step in actually addressing some of the deep problems, man, some of the deep problems in Baltimore and everything, man. So I really appreciate it, man. But here's what I want to do before I we kind of get into the some of the bleak and dire parts of you know Baltimore and policing and black men, man. Man, just talk to us about the stuff that people don't normally see, man. The stuff that's not portrayed on TV. Some of the inaccuracies and misrepresentations of Baltimore, because Baltimore, it has a black middle class there. I mean, since 19, and I was looking at the timeline, man, since 1987, you've had a good number, most of the mayors, I'm looking at the timeline of mayors, man. You've had mainly black mayors in the city of Baltimore between 1987 to now. And there's only been like one mayor, Martin O'Malley, who was in office like from 1999 to 2007. But before him, you had your first black mayor, and then you had Shirley Dixon, you had Stephanie Rawlings Blake, Catherine Pugh, Jack Young, and now you got Brandon Scott. You know what I mean? And
we went from dumb to dumber.
so listen, man, educate us, man, on the stuff that we don't see, man.
Well, one, Baltimore is like any other city. Baltimore is really a college town. Mm-hmm. You have one of the best law schools in the nation, the University of Baltimore, mm-hmm. where I used to live, not that far away from, you know. Mm-hmm. And then you have, of course, two HBCUs, Morgan and Coppin State. Nobody ever mentions those two. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever mentions the fact that it's a college town. Like you have the University of Baltimore, BCCC. You have Loyola, which was in my what is that, off of Cold Spring, which was in my district. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of college. You have Polytechnical, which is one of the best engineering schools in the nation for high school. Mm-hmm. Where I graduated, Lake Clifton. I mean, you had guys who wrestled and who were top in the state in wrestling. You had guys who were top of the state in basketball, had a law debate team that was comparable to any debate team you can put up. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about this. You don't hear about You don't hear about the successes of young people because it doesn't sell.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't sell.
Didn't sell.
And when you look at Baltimore, we have a very beautiful harbor. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because it's a port city, so it's a city where a lot of people can make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, both legally and illegally because of that factor.
In fact, yeah.
it's very rich, not just in Black history, but also American history in its totality.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when we look at it, this is where Frederick Douglass came around, was from these parts.
That's it.
You know, we have a lot of the older parts of Baltimore where Blacks established a lot of business. You had like Billie Holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
You had literally the Queen of Jazz living here.
Yeah.
And she's buried like what? I'm trying to think. I just went past where she was buried not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And then it's funny because all this historical stuff that we have here, and now that we having more you could say it's gentrification, but we're having more wealth pulled back into the city. You're having new housing. Mm-hmm. You're having a lot more opportunities to buy and to build. But yet all you're gonna hear is about The Wire.
Yeah.
Oh y'all sell drugs. Like, we're not the drug capital of the world. Believe it or not. We got. I'm pretty sure you're a Dade County boy yourself. So,
yeah.
Hey, y'all get straight off the boat.
Off the boat.
People don't understand that this is where a lot of starts come from. I mean, of course, we got those great Ravens to play. You know, we have a lot of history here, so it's mind-boggling. Every time I travel, I hear people talk about, is it like The Wire? Every goddamn city's like The Wire. Especially during the 80s and 90s, every major city for Black people was like that.
There you go.
But I don't get it. Yeah, because people want to show you the negative parts of the city.
Yeah.
Nobody ever tells you the greatness.
Yeah.
You had Tank, who represented well with boxing. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of pristine athletes here. Mm-hmm. You have a lot. I mean, hell, you have Johns Hopkins University.
Johns Hopkins, man, come on, yes.
One of the Ivy Leagues, the best hospital on the planet.
Yes.
You know, you have literally shock trauma. They literally have all the gods in that emergency room down shock trauma, literally bringing people back to life.
Yeah.
but you'll never hear about it because
Never hear.
nobody wants to talk about the successes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that seems to be. I mean, that's just kind of a characteristic, even microcosm of so much of what we deal with as Black people. You know what I mean? And because the idea is that we. I mean, there's this idea that's pervasive that something about being Black is just inherently criminal. You know what I mean? And all of us are criminal, and even when you talk about the politicians, and I know that the politicians, they are not squeaky clean. You know what I mean? They've engaged in misconduct, as politicians in other cities have engaged in misconduct and everything like that. um, but it just seems to me that, at least in terms of popular culture, man, Baltimore just has gotten a very, 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 very bad rap. It's like it almost rivals Chicago, right? It's like, Chicago, when we hear about Chicago in the news, it's always about the gangs and the murders and stuff like that. We're not in the middle, but right at the beginning of summer, man. And we got shootings that are not related to Chicago, but we can anticipate that there's going to be violence in Chicago this summer, as well as other places, man. But it overshadows the historic significance of places like Chicago, and I mentioned Atlanta in the broadcast, and Atlanta is going through it now. You know what I mean? And so the history of Atlanta is now being overwhelmed by this image of the trap. You know what I mean? And just violence and that sort of thing, man. Let me ask you this, man, because I really want to talk about this popular imagery, man. And Gigi, Gigi, myself, Dr. Green Gorilla, Dr. T.S. Johnson, and myself, we've talked about, Black men scholars intellectuals who've been, resistant to certain ideas about Black men and Black people and stuff like that, and people like Robert Staples, and we've talked about, of course, you got Tommy Curry, Dr. Tommy J. Curry, but there's also um, Ishmael Reed, and I have to know Ishmael Reed because Ishmael Reed, he's in his 90s right now. He's in his 90s, man, and he's a prolific guy. If you guys who are watching this stream, if you guys don't know who Ishmael Reed is, I need you guys to go look him up. I need you guys to buy all of his books, especially his nonfiction books. He was the Black man. He was a one man. I'll put it like this: Ishmael Reed was a one man Black manosphere before the Black manosphere. Okay, and I cite him because he went hard. So the author, the principal author of The Corner, and The Wire, was the Baltimore Sun journalist, former journalist, David Simon, and he had another co-writer who was with him as well. But Ishmael Reed, when the Corner came out, and even The Wire, man, he just went ham. He went ham on David Simon, man. In terms of his portrayal, first in the book because he wrote about it. He wrote about it in the book, and then later they adapted these books to HBO, to cable and stuff like that, man. Um, I couldn't. I will say this, and I said this to you in private, and I say this in public. I had a very difficult time, and I kind of agree with him. I had a very difficult time when The Corner came out. Late '90s, early 2000s, and I had a very difficult time with The Wire. I did not like those programs, because those programs, man, just made us look like just drug addicts and monsters and all kinds of things. And I could barely watch those programs. The Wire was on for several seasons. I maybe got through two seasons. I just couldn't watch. I would watch parts of the latter seasons and stuff like that to see how it ended. What I knew, I mean, you know how. I mean, we all know how those stories end, right? But But I just want to get your perspective, man. Somebody from, from Baltimore, man, how did you react to the corner and the wire and all of that, just as a guy who grew up there and as some law enforcement, everything, man. How did you what was your take on those things, man?
My take on it was can't find anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
You had so much to talk about
Yeah.
the city of Baltimore, but yet you bring up the wire. And it gets hard because you know your city very well.
Yeah.
And you know damn well, like, we have our rotten apples like anybody else, but you never uplift this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least when you look at other races of people, they're going to talk about political intrigue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're going to look at political intrigue on the highest level, but it's like you go out and you look. No, not voting for Mosby.
Yeah.
The other Mosby.
No, you're asking a cop if he voted for Mosby.
Mosby and Mosby.
That's like Bugs Bunny voting for Elmer Fudd to get the shotgun.
How they going to do in the election?
How they going to do when the conviction? That's what I'm wondering.
They can't hold office if they're convicted. You talking about the husband too?
Yeah, they're gonna have to come. They're gonna have to step down or be forced down.
Huh?
They're gonna have to step down or be forced down.
You think so?
Wouldn't be the first time.
So you think they're gonna win?
No. Then again, knowing this city and their track record, they might vote them in again. They'd be like, well, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Yeah, take care. Sorry about that. I was getting some tactical pads out the store.
Sounds like, yeah.
He was saying, what about the election? I said, what about their conviction? But I look at it and I'm tired of seeing it.
Yeah.
But black people, we as a people, we're addicted to drama.
We are. Yeah. Yeah.
We're just downright addicted to drama.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you try to tell people some uplifting stuff about themselves in our community, it's like no one believes you. For some reason, you think you're lying.
Yeah. 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 And my issue, one of the things I had is that the stars, those characters, the Avon Barksdale, Stringer Bell, those people, they became these, kind of mythic, larger than life people, you know what I mean? And what disturbed me, because black people love it, and that was the big thing that bothered me, because I remember being in conversations with like middle class. I was in conversation with middle class blacks who didn't grow up in those environments, right?
Right.
And they was just so addicted to that, you know what I mean? And they just saw that as being so authentic and so real, you know what I mean?
And what happens is, Dr. Neal, is that everybody wants to fit a stereotype in our city. We don't want people to say we're stereotypes, but yet we really do. Like if you came to Baltimore, you'll see the young people, if they're not wearing phone posits, as we call in the city, dope dealers, because back in the day, only dope dealers could afford them. You would have kids wearing New Balances or Jordans, definitely New Balances. And it's funny. You took out all the trades in the schools, because when I graduated from 2000, you had several trades. You had people who could go out there and get jobs as mechanics, bricklayers, carpenters, or whatnot. Now you're basically getting this pass them along system. And think about it, like somebody said in the chat, Baltimore was the start of a lot of your renaissance when it came to black economics,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when it came to black finance, black intellectualism.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't understand this. That
Mm-hmm.
because we had so many schools, because we had so many HBCUs,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for God's sake, say what you want about Ben Carson.
Yeah.
Guess where he was working? Guess what?
Yeah.
Nobody could touch him as a surgeon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you think he got a lot of his training from?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we don't want to give our flowers to black people especially while they're living.
No.
We have so much jealousy, and like you said about The Wire, this is all you think of me. This all you think? We sell drugs all the time.
Yeah.
Majority of black people do not even sell nor take
Yeah.
drugs.
And you know what's crazy? It's kind of like, in our spaces, we talk about the 80-20 rule, which is really the Pareto principle and everything like that. And when you think about it, and I find myself having to correct people all the time, even as a professor, man, talking to white people and white students and stuff like that, and trying to break this stuff down. Because when you turn on the news, all you see on the news when they crime report, are black people, and with the face of crime, right? And I have to, explain to them. I'm like, these people who are committing these crimes only represent a fraction of our population. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, the
And
people
I gotta say something real quick
Go ahead.
to this officer named Brandon Tatum.
Yeah.
This so-called conservative, which
Yeah.
he doesn't know a damn thing about conservatism. I don't see him moving to China or Russia anytime soon.
Yeah.
So shut the hell up.
Yeah.
If you still put out, because you're supposed to be a white man in blackface, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you put out that bullshit narrative, excuse my language,
Yeah.
about black people committing 52% of the murders, you can look on that chart from the FBI and look, you commit 100,000 more aggravated assaults. And by definition, homicide or murder is automatically an aggravated assault by default. So wait a minute. You use weapons more, but you're saying we kill them more.
Yeah.
Make that make sense numerically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet, let me ask you this question, Dr. Neil.
Yeah.
If you kick in or break into a person's door and see them sitting on their couch and shoot them several times in the chest while they were in their underclothes watching football and eating ice cream, would you constitute that as murder? But yet, Amber Geiger got off for what?
Yeah.
Manslaughter.
Manslaughter. That's right.
Which is a different charge. And this is how they finagle the numbers. When the last time you heard a black man go to jail for manslaughter?
Manslaughter. Oh, that's it. 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 Yeah. So it doesn't make so numerically, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. Things are inflated, and and the largest point is, I've even had students when I would tell them, that black people are only. I've had students who were they were dumbfounded by the fact that black people are only 13 to 14% of the population. I literally I've had students who assumed that we were a much larger population.
They don't understand that once you go further west, you're going to see a lot less of us.
Yeah.
Two, look at what abortion has done to us.
Yeah.
I've said this on my stream before. Abortion, if we had 20 to 40 million from abortion, imagine if they had 2 kids apiece, each baby that was aborted.
Yeah.
You would have had about 60, 70 million, maybe even 100. But because a lot of the women bought hook, line, and sinker in our community, this abortion crap, We destroyed our own damn army.
We did.
We destroyed all our intellectuals.
Yep.
And all you need to do is like, you don't even have to open up a book. You can just look at your phone and just Google stats. You got facts. Yeah. The hell with those facts. We don't go by factual information here.
No. No, 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 no. And, when I was doing my research, man, it was clear that at one time, Baltimore, you talked about the docks and everything like that, and the water, and I mean, up until a certain point, this happened. This happened across the nation, man. You had industry, man. You had industry, and you had a situation where men were able to get jobs, blue collar jobs. You know what I mean? You were able to leave high school and go into the world of work. All right. And as you said, you had the trade. You could learn a trade in high school. I remember those days when you can learn a trade before you graduated from high school and you got certified. You know, and then even after high school, even if you didn't do it in high school, you can go for a year or two to a trade school and go into the world of work, man. But what happened to Baltimore, it happened, across the nation in terms of industries, man, collapsing or being what they call outsourced, being exported to different parts of the world for cheaper labor and stuff like that.
Baltimore was hit dramatically and drastically by that, man, because I remember when my grandfather, I call my grandfather granddaddy, serious.
Yeah.
But I remember when my grandfather used to work at Inner Harbor Ford,
Uh-huh.
and he went to the 8th grade, but he became a master mechanic. Tell me where the education, for some reason, why is the level of education better now? Where you could go to the 8th grade and be just as smart as somebody with an associate's, if not greater. But I digress on that one, Doctor. That's your realm. That's your realm.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear
And,
you. I hear you.
and it's funny, they took over the land and they made everything that used to be industrial.
Uh-huh.
Now they want to go into this technological hub, which I understand you're going to go with the times.
Yeah.
But yet, you're starting to find out in America very quickly, when we let go of our building and our industry,
Yeah.
you put a lot of people out of work.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you put a great need. And then what happened? As soon as you did this, you had the rise of China.
Yeah.
Oh, you American lazy? Oh no, we build for you. Now you owe us money.
Yep. And it seems to me, man, when I look at the timeline, like I mentioned, your mayors. So it seems to me when you all time that your first black mayor came into office in 87, that's when.
Yeah, that was Duke Burns. He was the first black Baltimore mayor.
Yeah, that's when the deindustrialization really began to kick in. You know what I mean? And that's hitting our generation. You know what I mean? And then that just opens up the door. When you have the loss of jobs and all that. William Julius Wilson, he's retired now. He taught at University of Chicago for a long, long time. And wrote a lot of powerful books of sociology. Wrote this book called When Work Disappears. And just basically dealt with that. So the question was, well, why is it that these cities began to decline, and why did you see all this unemployment? You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, just work disappeared. You know what I mean? Legitimate.
Pretty much. You got to think. They went to the East Asia. They went to Mexico. And I'm sorry, like a lot of those places should have been fined, and they should have been. There should have been an embargo against a lot of these companies that personally destroyed the economy of not just Black America, but America as a whole.
Yeah.
And when we look at this, we say, okay, when you look at chronology and you look at charts,
Yeah.
What's the causes of crime? Lack of opportunity,
Yeah.
time or wasted time,
Yeah.
proximity, because most of the time you're going to rob and steal from people who are the closest to you.
Yep.
And guess what? You have this crime rise because you took all the opportunity, you took all the hope out of the neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah.
You took them out.
Took them out. You took them out. You took them out. You took them out. Talk a little bit, man, about how this stuff impacted from your vantage point, man. Like, black men, young black men coming up, like when you were coming up, um, and connected, if you can, man, to today, because I'm wondering. One of the things I'm wondering, man, if the situation is exponentially worse today than it was like when you were coming up. You know what I mean?
Right.
In terms of just the complete disappearance of industry, no opportunity whatsoever.
See, what happens here in Baltimore, I guess for all intents and purposes, you could call this girl my ex. She's now a sergeant in the police department.
Yeah.
She used to ask this question: why don't a lot of these black guys get jobs? I said, they're not hiring them. What happened was a lot of black women were getting those cushy positions in HR, human resources, for those who think I'm not familiar with the lingo. They get these positions in HR. They have an opportunity to even put their own boyfriends and husbands on with good paying jobs. But because of this disdain that we have in our community for our men, they would rather give it to their sister. Even though they have done studies, when a group of women work together, things become inefficient. And that's why usually you'll have a male there, usually in the supervisor position, to get them focused. They'll get the woman in this position. A lot of shit doesn't get done, excuse my language, just like the police department. And then next thing you know, they'll be the ones complaining, why can't these men get the jobs? Why can't these men get a job? Why can't these? I mean, I've looked on York Road where I work, walk, foot, patrol down. It's a shopping district all the way down to the county line, basically. There's a few houses there, but mostly it's a shopping district. And I said, you got Advance Auto and AutoZone, and you see nothing but women there. How in the hell? How many women get up underneath a hood?
Not too many.
And you're telling me we don't have capable brothers who fix cars for fun and could get those jobs? You don't have capable brothers who are certified that can't get those jobs? You literally not only took out the jobs the females weren't going to take, like bricklaying. Hell no, she ain't going to carry all that shit. But you're not even going to hire the men, knowing that from the ages of 14 to 25, that's where a lot of your crime is happening from, for males, especially black in a city like Baltimore. Where are your opportunities? Where are your scholarships? Where are your mentorships? You took the police out the PAL centers, where most of your best and most memorable interactions with the police was at the gym, where they could have de-escalated a lot of things between people, had mediation. I had to mediate things between two teenagers before. Where's your coaches? I've coached for 20 years in my old high school for wrestling. Built many of championships. Hell, we even have a 97 percentile rate of having black men walk across that stage who wrestle for me. When you know what works in this system and you do nothing to galvanize it, you're a part of the problem yourself. And that's the issue. A lot of people love it because it's by design. You're going to have these young men who are pretty much, you can estimate if they're going to go to prison or not. And what happens is somebody's got to get paid. And you've seen how a lot of the prisons, for the past 20, 30 years were being privatized. How many of these judges are getting paid convicting young black men of crimes that are like excessive? How many? I mean, really, if you got rid of drugs or dramatically slowed it down, which the federal government has the ability to do, you would put the DEA out of business. You put pretty much the ATF out of business. But that's the problem. When you dance with the devil, he doesn't change, you do.
So what you're saying that, and now we're opening up a whole realm that we have to get into, man, is that there's some complicity. There's been complicity on our part, and so the economy changes and it begins to favor. It moves away from men. Black men are affected by it in particular.
Correct.
And then what it does is it incorporates women. It absorbs women into the economy. The women who have husbands, they have boyfriends, as you said, they have sons. But when they're in that position to open up doors, the doors don't get open.
Yes, Dr. Neal, you got to think about it. You think an Asian woman who works in HR is not going to hire her husband or her son? You think an Arabic woman who gets in that position, she's going to hire her family. You got black businesses who don't even hire their own children.
Man.
I'm gonna paint this picture, right? See, people think Baltimore is this poor ass city. We get more money per student than almost anywhere, probably one or two than anywhere in the country, literally.
Oh my God. Oh.
But yet we have some, excuse my language once again, you got a goddamn student who had a 0.13 average and they were about to let this kid graduate high school.
Oh my God.
And the mom claimed she didn't know. She didn't know. How do you tell somebody you didn't know when first and foremost he lives with you?
Yeah.
You have, and then on top of that, we could go where I used to work in the Guilford community where they have $1 million homes. A lot of people don't know this about Baltimore. The guy who invented the BlackBerry lives right in the Guilford community. He literally has a mansion that's a block long. You're telling me there's a black couple who was a successful, I think he was a doctor or a lawyer. Like literally, his house looked like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's house.
Damn.
So don't think that these places, I've actually showed BGS when I was working.
Yeah.
They have a man-made lake over there in Homeland with geese and ducks and all. This is not, the city's only poor where it wants to be poor.
Yeah.
Think about it. We're the city that also built redlining. Yeah. We're the home of redlining.
That's right.
How can you have an architecture made by the same architect, same rooms, everything's identical? Yeah. 2 blocks away, that house is $75,000.
Yeah.
Going the other direction towards downtown, because you don't have the complexion for the protection, that house is $300,000 to $475,000.
Man.
But we don't see that there's an issue.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, man. So I was watching a documentary, man, on the public school situation there, and I saw the numbers that you cited, man, where you got that they're getting all this federal money, and they've got fake students enrolled in the school, students who are not even enrolled. Students who are dead students.
You have dead people enrolled in schools.
Dead people, and
it's ridiculous because, like I said, if Charles Faulkner Jr. was mayor of Baltimore, I would have every department head and tell them you need to bring a resume, and you better give me 10 to 15 minutes to convince me not to fire your ass.
Yeah.
You're telling me that none of these kids coming out of here are technologically savvy? You're telling me that these kids can't figure out a checkbook, can't pay taxes, can't. What the hell do you teach them?
Nothing. And what I get is that you have teachers and administrators who are passing these students along, uh, getting all this money from the federal government, okay, for people who are not there in order to keep the school alive, so they would justify their salaries, so they would maintain their jobs, so they would have a certain standard of living or what have you. I mean, so you talk about, it's funny. So it's one thing to talk about like street level crime, right? But that's white collar stuff, man. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna tell you how different it is racially, right? When I first began my career as a police officer, we as the Northern District had to stop getting found CDS from the campus police and saying, well, we found this CDS. Well, give us a person so we can arrest them. Well, the dean said we can't, then don't call us. Why are they getting protection? But if you would have went to Morgan and Coppin and found a whole bag of Kush in the damn dorms, you'd be ready to take them. You'd be ready to take them down to Central Bookings. But yet, like you said about the crime, we're not. We may do our crime, but you don't see mass shooters. Why is that? Is it because a little privilege goes a long way?
Goes a long way.
It's because you're starting to see that without your privilege, which is dwindling and waning, you're starting to see your inadequacies. You were never built for tough. You were never built to endure. You were never even made or taught to think on your own and become an enterprise yourself in the world. No, because you swam around basically wallowing in obsolescence, that now you're mad with the world, you're upset, now you want to shoot people. And I'm looking at it, and I have to say this because I know this is a touchy subject.
No, say it. Yeah, say it.
Black people, I'm going to give you the words of Roosevelt Bazemore. If you don't know who Roosevelt Bazemore is, he's my grandfather. He just turned 90 in April. He said it once. How the hell, with the history of black people in this country, y'all still walk around unarmed? You need to lobby your politicians, go to wherever your state and get yourself a gun permit. Buy a gun for home defense at least. If you got to put it in a lockbox in the back of your trunk with the lockbox bolted to the floor of your trunk, hey, whatever you put in there is your business. I'm not telling you what to do.
Yeah.
But I understand. I definitely understand.
I know that's right.
And I'm sorry, I'm not one to tell people to be caught naked. And I've actually had to talk about this yesterday. I had to decline my first client because he wanted to undercut me and say, "Oh, I want two guys, unarmed."
Oh, okay. Oh.
And this is for the Pride Parade. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of violence actually happens at those parades.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Alcohol,
drugs.
fight. They're known to carry blades, especially the transgender community.
Yeah.
So you want me to be at the front door and somebody comes with a blade or a gun? There's only so much I can do with my hands.
Yeah.
And there's so much I will do with my hands. And I said, then you wanted to undercut me, and the guy knew I was a police officer. That's how we met.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, you really think I'm going to work in a neighborhood where I used to police and police it fairly?
Yeah.
I'm going to be unarmed, caught naked. Sorry, sir. And I'm going to leave my employees no way to defend themselves or the people or the patrons of the restaurant. Hell no. That's the reason why it's a difference between being a commander and being a chief. Why? Because the commander leads in the damn front. I'm not going to put you in a situation that I haven't been or not willing to do. And this is the part where it comes to, like, yo, black people, start Start going to the range.
Going
Start
to the
training.
yeah.
Go to the colleges and learn how to do first aid and medical.
Yeah. It's a real thing. And I want to come back to that because I want to get your. I want you to share with us more of your perspective in light of what's been going on with these shootings and all that kind of stuff, and even, I mean, also just coupled with your, your security background and everything, man.
No,
But
please go ahead, ask away. No
but
questions too harsh.
here's so the young guys, man, the young guys. So you got this age range between 14 and 25, 14 and 25, man. And you've been doing this for a long time, man. And you know, what do you see in terms of when you encounter these young men? What are you seeing in terms of their development? So we know about the schools and all that kind of stuff, right? And what the schools are not doing. But it's one thing for us to get these stories, right, of these guys who are shooters, they're enforcers, and they're committing murders or what have you. And we don't know them. We get them in the abstract. But what is it when you're encountering these people on the street, before they get there, or whatever, man? What's going on with these guys in terms of their lives and their backgrounds and all of that, man? Speak to that.
We're gonna talk about this subject, weapons free. One, you're seeing what you call, as BJS and myself call, a delayed adultism. A delayed adulthood. You're seeing this bravo masculinity. You're seeing these young men who want to beat their chest to be called men, but there's no men around to confirm it.
Yeah.
You can only be called a man by another older, more experienced man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Doc?
Yeah.
See,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
When I wrestled, I couldn't call myself the champion till I had to stand up and beat everybody who was in front of me. I had to be confirmed. You the man. And see, you're growing up in a gynocentric household where all you do is serve. Not achieve, but serve. Think about it. How many basketball players make it to the NBA just to buy their mama a house? To serve.
To serve. Yeah.
Think about this.
Yeah.
Do you think Eli and Peyton Manning thank their mother or their father who already bought their mother a house?
No.
See, the difference is with black males, we pray for leaders where the white people grooms their leaders.
There you go.
Where's the grooming process to be a warrior? Where's the grooming process to be a leader?
Yeah.
You have these young males who will rather pick up a gun than pick up a fist.
Yeah.
When you and I grew up, it wasn't nothing but space and opportunity if you wanted to scrap. And most likely, you were going to end up being friends with that person.
Yeah.
But we took away that as soon as we got out and said we don't need men anymore.
Yeah.
And we became emotional.
Yeah.
We became very effeminate.
Yeah.
We wanted to look pretty instead of to look proper.
Yeah.
We didn't think we had any responsibilities. So that's why you're gonna have a guy who women know they shouldn't date end up with 10 babies out of 5 women. But they'll sit there and tell you, well, he doesn't take care of his children. Did he look like father of the year material or not?
Yeah.
We gotta say you have this delayed adultism, this delayed adulthood. And it's like these young men want to become men, but they just don't know how. They're given all these falsehoods.
Yeah.
They're given all this narrative that doesn't go and coincides with their physical being.
Physical being.
And when I confront them, because they've been indoctrinated so long into a gynocentric household, they don't respect male authority. So where do you think a lot of your excessive force shit come from? I gotta tell this kid, yo, calm down. I just trying to talk to you. What's up? Why you in this corner? You need a job? What's up?
Yeah.
No. I'm like, dude, why you gotta go there?
Yeah.
I had kids 15 years old swing on me.
Damn.
And I had to drop him.
Oof.
Right cross, he goes down.
Yeah.
And when he came back to, I'm like, we could have talked this out. But no. Because you learned that from your mother to be emotional a while out and not settle your issues like a man and talk. Yeah. You had to take the responsibility of a man.
Yeah. And that seems to be, that's the elephant in the room. That's the elephant in the room that few people want to acknowledge. Okay. That you got these, and we know about it. We talk about this in our space all the time, but we have to continue to talk about it, is that you have these boys and male youth who have been negatively socialized, man, being around women, their mothers, their aunts, or what have you. And you and I know, it don't take nothing for them to walk up in a man's face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially if there's no men around them and men in their homes and their lives and stuff like that, and their boys adopt that same type of behavior, man. You know what I mean? And,
right. And that's dangerous. You going against an officer, and peep this, Doc. Somebody in the Baltimore Police Department, 47% it's white, and a 70% city. How the hell does that happen?
Wow.
But 45 are black, and the rest of that equation, 44 are black, and the rest of the equation is other.
Yeah.
How the hell don't we even have the majority in our own damn police department? And then you're gonna say, out of those 47 white, how many do you think were raised around black people? Majority of white people are not raised around black people.
There you go.
The overwhelming majority.
Overwhelming.
So you'll have a white officer saying, why are they outside the store talking? And they're laughing loud. They're talking. We're sociable creatures. And then now when he tries to confront someone, he already has a fear. Mm-hmm. Or some type, maybe even a prejudice. Yeah. Definitely a fear because he's not used to interacting because he never had to all his life.
Yeah.
Remember, I had to tell this to a white soldier when I was in the Army. He's like, why is there still angst for black people and white people? I said, you really want to know why? Okay, buckle your seatbelts. I'm going to tell you. Did you ever have to know black history, black culture, anything black or what black people went through to be successful? No. Well, being black, we got to know your damn history and know ours to be successful. And that's only half of the success you'll ever get. That's only half the success we'll ever get. And it's funny because like I said, I've had white guys on my panels before and they try to claim ignorance. And I said, you're trying to claim ignorance like there's no racism anymore, but would you trade your life with a black man's? And they get quiet. So you know.
But Charles, let me ask you this, man. And thank you, Tim Howard, for that super chat, man. We appreciate your contributions as well as your work in the chat, man. Thank you for Tim Howard, who is indefatigable mod here on my channel. I appreciate you, man. Everything that you do, man. Here's what I want to ask you, man. So, is there a difference in the way in which these young black men interact with the white cops versus the black cops? Are they more belligerent with you than they are with them, or is it the same thing?
Of course, they're more belligerent with me. I remember I pulled over a car because they had more than the capacity of people who are supposed to be in that car. Now, one person was wearing a seatbelt. They actually told my white partner who was riding in his patrol car, your friend kind of racist. And he's like, huh? Yeah, he only pulled us over because we black. And I heard him and I said, no, you dumbass. I pulled you over because you were a safety violation. How am I racist when I would have done the same thing to white people? And then he got quiet. Notice when every time you ask a question and they don't have a smart enough answer, everybody gets quiet. And I'm just thinking about it. You were so polite, but then again, and I had to pull him over and I said, look, we're gonna talk about races. How come you calling him sir, but you yelling at me? And he like, I didn't notice that. Well, I did. So of course I'm gonna get some belligerence. And once again, we claim that we love our brothers in here. No, we don't. You're brought up in a place where you have disdain for your brother.
Yeah.
That's why on my champion, I came up with the term, also trademark.
Yeah.
My brother, my champion, my savior.
There you go.
If I look at a fellow black man that way, how can I turn against him? And are you willing to look at your brother that way?
Because
there's many.
Yeah.
I'll say this and I'll let you speak.
Go ahead.
There's nobody ever talks about the police that look out for them.
That's it. Yeah.
You ever notice that? They never talk about the police who taught you dead to rights, whatever drug, taught you in a dirty license and let you go. They never talk to the police who come to your house and talk instead of dragging everybody in the house out to jail.
There you go.
No, you never hear these stories, but miraculously, everybody's accosted by the police.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
No,
but that's the thing, man. Because here's the thing. So you're an authority figure, right? You're a man with a badge, okay, and you have the kind of authority that nobody else has, all right. And you would think that just by virtue of the fact that you can put people in jail, and that you represent the law, okay, that common sense, a person with common sense would, adhere to the fact that you are an authority figure. But the reality is that we have been so conditioned by the culture, our culture, to not respect black men who are in positions of authority.
No, we have not. And
let me add, and here's the thing. So and I've noticed it because this is what you see in your profession, but I've noticed in every profession that a black person is in, especially a black man, any black man who is in a position of authority, ultimately, he gets challenged in very antisocial ways. If it's not by somebody that's white, but definitely by somebody that's black.
Oh yeah, you gotta think about it, good doc. You'll have. I remember this one time, and it was this chick named Diamond. I'm in a patrol car, marked patrol car right behind her. The light turns green. Instead of pulling over to get her friend in the car, she holds up traffic for about a minute. And I'm like, you didn't see me right here? For her friend to come across. And I pull her over and she's like, that's the reason why people don't like the police. Y'all not doing anything. Y'all just harassing people. I said, I did do my job, Diamond. Remember the time when your boyfriend almost killed you? That was me who choked his ass off of you. And she got quiet. Notice there's a theme when they get quiet, right? And it's funny because you were just about to be hostile because you couldn't take that you were wrong instead of taking it, in stride. But you wanted to flash out on me because I'm stopping you from doing something that's illegal or wrong, immoral, or harmful to yourself or someone else. And like you said about when you become a black man in a position of power or authority, Everybody's got to come at you with some type of challenge. Everybody. There's no such thing. Think about it. Even in the military, you get a black man who gets a certain rank. Either two things are going to happen. That black man is going to show his ass, especially black officers, or if he's the actual officer trying to help people, he's going to be stifled.
Stifled. Got it. Yeah.
And that's what happens. Go ahead, Doc.
No. And I have, and that's the thing because I know personally, and I've had encounters with black cops. You know what I mean? Where I might have been, speeding, okay, or I mean, I've had some interesting. I've had some situations with black cops. He just gave me a warning and told me to go on my way, okay, and told me to be careful, okay, because it was late at night and I needed to get home, and he didn't give me the ticket, okay, and then even beyond that, but personally, knowing people personally, so the thing is, I know black cops who are good guys who do their job, who try to be ethical, you know what I mean, and do their jobs as they're supposed to do. But it's always the other guys who get the bad rap. It's always the other guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's always the other guys rather who overshadow the guys who are trying to do their job and be moral and be helpful and stuff like that. It's always the crooked, corrupt people and stuff like that. But here's and what I want to know. So, and here's the thing. So I started the stream talking about the Johnny Depp situation, and I know that you've had to deal with domestic situations, and being called to a situation between a man and a woman and all that kind of stuff, man. Let the audience, man, just from your experience, man. I mean, man, tell us, man, what is the real deal, man? From a cop's perspective, man. With these black men and these women in these households, man. What is the real deal?
I tell people some shocking stuff. 67% in the black community, when it's domestic violence, the woman is the aggressor. Almost 70%. You don't hear the narrative because, a lot of black women are going to shoot it down. Think about this. How can you tell me that this guy's beating on you and you're afraid for your safety, but as soon as we get there, we're looking at you yelling and about to fight him? Think about this. Even for black cops, I'll tell you, it's even bad for black cops because you almost don't want to tell women who you're dating that you're a police officer, because when they get mad with you, the first thing they're going to do is lie to IID, which I'll call what civilians call it, commonly as internal affairs. Call them up and say, "Oh, he's been hurting me, or he threatened me." That officer gets suspended immediately.
Oh man.
Powers suspended, gun taken, hell, even guns out of your house taken out. That you paid for with your hard-earned money. And I've had one officer who was divorced. His wife lied on him, saying that he abused his children, which he never would. And for 8 months, he sat at the desk. And remember, when you're suspended, you can't do overtime.
Okay. Wow.
And so the civilians get it hard. It's just not even as hard as the cops. Imagine you're paying for a trip, or you're paying for school, you're paying for a new house. You're converting overtime hours. You're banking off of that. And then all of a sudden, one lie changes the course of everything. Or even to the point where a friend of mine was terminated off of a lie. He was found acquitted in court at a department because the department is on some BS. He's terminated him.
Wow. Listen, so I was blown away years ago. This is when I learned about this. This maybe 5 years ago, and I was talking to some cops here. I'm in North Carolina, and I was at a New Year's a New Year's Day gathering and party that a friend of mine was hosting, and there was some cops there. Were there. They were. I mean, they were there as guests, and somehow or another, man, we got into this conversation about domestic violence and domestic violence calls, and these guys were telling me, they said, you know, back in the day, our standard practice was whenever you got domestic violence call, um, we go in and kind of typically, if anybody would get arrested, it would be the guy, the man, right? And then they said that they had to shift their practices. And what they shift to, they said that now, and this was like 5 years ago, they said like now our practice is that if we arrest people, we arrest both the man and the woman, because typically, as you were saying, the violence is going both ways. And and particularly if they can't, if it's hard for them to ascertain who started what, they
Yeah,
arrest both of them.
I've arrested both, even though the state's attorney doesn't like it. But
Yeah.
oh well, sometimes you can't determine. But women get shocked when you arrest them for DV.
Mm.
They're like, "Really? I called you? Yeah, but you broke his nose with a goddamn pole. You didn't think you weren't gonna get no." We had a on view, because on view means you didn't get the call from the dispatcher, it just happened in front of you or around you,
Uh-huh.
or you found it. On view, on you, as we used to say. And the guy came came out the house bleeding. I mean, busted open, and this was late night. They were in the bed.
Uh-huh.
A lady, his wife,
Uh-huh.
hit him in the face while his phone was ringing
Uh-huh.
because it was a business call or something. She thought it was another woman and cracked him with a brass lamp
Ooh, shoot.
right in the face. I
Wow.
mean, he thought it was a horror movie how much he bled.
Ooh.
And she's like, he needs to be arrested. No. And she had the audacity to come out with the bloody lamp
Mhm,
outside.
mhm, mhm,
And we had to arrest her.
man. Hold on. Rashad McKinney, I want to thank you for that cash app of $5, man. I appreciate you, Rashad McKinney. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Let's go a little bit deeper, man. So in these calls, what in your experience has been like in terms of like the causes why they're arguing? Is there one thing that kind of stands out, or two causes? You mentioned cheating. Is it, what causes them to get to these spats and disputes in your experience?
Well, well, one of the biggest calls that we'll get is when this is the reason why I'm going to say this to the fellas real quick.
Yeah.
Never ever move in with a woman. Never move into her house. It's one thing moving together, but it's another thing moving into her already established home.
Mhm.
Because as soon as she gets mad, she's going to say, get out. And she's going to call the police to try to put you out. Which, if you establish yourself as a resident, she can't. So now, because she's being told by police, we can't. Now, here comes the subterfuge.
Mhm.
Here comes the line. Oh, he beat me. I remember it was a 350-pound woman.
Yeah.
She's with this skinny guy. I mean, he was about 145, 150 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And she said, and don't you laugh, Doc, he threw me across the room.
350.
And I looked at, and my partner said, dude, you didn't even know you said it. And, and he said the next thing I know, I heard you said you a damn lie. So I had to go inside the house and start laughing. And I'm like, she literally said that this guy picked her up and threw her across the room. I'm like, you see him, you see you. How is that a true statement? Is this guy from Krypton or something? Like, does he get like superpowers in the daylight or something? It happened.
Ah,
And they will make up these lies. Definitely say this stuff, and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Like, my God, really, at least tell me something good.
oh my God.
And
Oh,
it used to be that practice where whoever's the aggressor, and a lot of people will just act like it's always the guy until you start studying. The woman's the aggressor a lot of these times because it's like the Amber Heard thing.
yeah,
Nobody's gonna believe you, but they forget we have to investigate.
yeah.
Here it is. Johnny Depp came with a finger that was almost amputated,
Oh my God.
and it's like he tried to actually treat this chick halfway decent,
Yeah,
but she didn't like it. She's throwing bottles at the man,
yeah,
and he's making Disney money at the time,
yeah,
and he had to go through all this and pay millions of dollars just to clear his name.
yeah, 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 yeah. And you know, and what's interesting, and what you're saying, and this is a common. So the guy is living. The guy is living with a woman, which says a lot about his economic lack, right?
Mhm.
So you got a guy who's living with a woman, and what he might be unemployed, or he might be, you know, underemployed, not making enough money.
Just getting out the joint.
Just get that's not. Oh man, so that's another layer, man.
I'm gonna tell you, Doc. I can pick
Oh,
them out, man. I've been doing
oh
it for so long.
man,
I had, and this is when I
talk
was
to us,
working in the
man. Talk
midnight
to
shift.
us.
This is when I was working the midnight shift. I had a
Oh,
call with like a disorderly domestic. They arguing, and I said, "You just came out the joint, didn't you?"
yeah,
He's like, "How do you know?"
yeah,
I'm looking at you, relatively handsome guy.
yeah,
I'm looking at her.
yeah,
She's not a looker.
yeah.
You were she needs a man, and you need a place to stay.
That's it.
The epic, the story of Gilgamesh, only in homosexualism.
Oh man, talk about it, man. Talk about
And
it.
then the homosexual is usually the
Oh man.
first person who's gonna be the victim of DV.
Ooh,
Why? Because he has no backing. He doesn't have the money to fight in court. He's
yeah.
probably living under her roof, most likely.
Oh man.
And guess what? She will, and I've seen it where women will flagrantly have a husband who's a homosexual
Yeah.
or a boyfriend
Yeah.
and flagrantly cheat and bring their other men around him.
Ooh.
But as soon as he argues or say he doesn't like it, ring, ring, ring. Oh, he tried to hit me.
Oh man. And she knows.
Uh-huh.
She knows that he can go back to jail.
Yep. Especially if he's on parole or probation.
Probation.
And it's funny because before we used to be arresting people. All she had to do was say he hit me. But now they're doing more. Thank God they're doing more investigations.
Yeah.
But the problem is this: that in my personal opinion and
Yeah.
professional opinion,
Yeah.
you need to start charging people for making false reports on others.
Others. Yeah. Gotcha.
Stop dropping these cases. If I'm gonna tell you, fellas, we're gonna have to start doing some Johnny Depp stuff.
Oh man. Say it. Tell it.
If a woman lies on you, if a woman lies on you, get her charged for making a false statement. Sue her for slander. Do it because that'll cut a lot of that mess out. And anytime you feel as though your woman or a lady you're seeing is about to act off the hook, record the whole incident.
Mm.
Because when it's your word against everybody else's, guess who most likely going to be taken?
Man. So you got this real it's a real power dynamic, man.
Mhm.
Because she's the one who's offering the housing, and he doesn't have too many options, and he got to abide by her rules.
It's just another form of abuse, good doctor.
Oh,
It's another think about that. You're a grown man and you gotta go by the whims of a woman.
Yeah.
A lot of these women will pick these men purposely because they know they can look what Shaq told his daughters, pick a man that you can control.
That's it.
How many guys are gonna be trying to look for his daughters and say, I want to be controlled? What he's going to do, he's setting up his daughters for being perpetually lonely or heavily divorced. And they're going to be the ones who are going to be, well, they got all this money. They're going to be the ones paying alimony because of that bad advice. And it's funny because, like, to get back to what you said about the control, they want to I've learned many years before women say a lot, but with you don't judge a woman what she says, you judge her by what she does. If you really want a man to lead, you're not going to challenge the leadership. But yet you want to be in control because you don't feel right a man leading, especially if he's doing too good of a job. Notice they're taught to sabotage good leaders. I'm going to say that again for the Negroes in the back.
Say it again.
A lot of these modern women, especially black women in particular, are taught to sabotage good leaders.
Man. And now let me ask you this, man, because I want to go deeper in this, man. Now, I can imagine some of these women have kids, man. They can have like sons and daughters and stuff like that. And these guys will move into their houses, man. And that stuff makes them even more vulnerable, right? Because she can just, she can say anything about this dude, right?
You really want me to tell you that story, Doc?
Oh, man, go ahead, go there, man.
I remember this call on Glenwood. I get a call for a mother trying to fight her daughter. And she's trying to go after her daughter like it was two dudes in a bar fight. That's swinging for the fences. Pull her and her daughter apart. Her daughter's about 15, 16. Pretty young, impressionable child. Very intelligent. Go to one of the top schools in the city. She's mad. And get this is the mom, right? She's mad at her daughter because she thinks her daughter was trying to sleep with her boyfriend. And it doesn't get even better. The daughter, I sat her aside and she talked to me. This guy keeps trying to touch me. I don't like being in the house by myself with him. I said, okay, pack up your clothes and go with your friend for the weekend. I said, ma'am, you should be ashamed of yourself. You about to fight your daughter over a sleazy bastard? But guess what? All good movies have what? Sequels. Later that night, I'm through the block. And I see this chick, same chick, the mother, damn near groveling at this dude. And I seen the picture of the dude earlier, so I recognized him. And she's groveling, chasing this dude down the street. Please don't leave me. Please, please, please. So, allegedly, wink, wink, nod, nod, I step out of my car and grab him by his collar and by his neck, and he's about 2 inches off the ground. And I asked him this one question when I sat him next to my car. I hope you've been not touching some young ladies who happen to be her daughter. Well, no. I said, if you even think about touching her, whatever you do to her, I'm going to do to you 10 times worse. Are we clear? He's like, yeah, sir. And his friend was like, hey, what's going on here? I said, dude, if you want some of this, you better get the hell up the road.
Mm, mm.
That dude ran like Barry Sanders.
I bet he did.
And I'm looking at him and I'm like, yo. And I looked at the mother and I said, you should be goddamn ashamed of yourself picking this little poor wretched bastard over your own door.
Daughter, yeah. See?
You lay a hand on your daughter ever again, I will personally arrest you and send the charges straight to CPS. And for some reason, the guy, he was kind of clumsy, so he hit my trunk of my car a couple of times. He kept tripping. I don't know, allegedly. But anyway, when I checked on the girl a month later, she said the guy moved out.
He moved out. Yeah.
Oh, really? What happened? He said, he had an issue with the police.
Yeah. I hear you, man. Oh man. But listen, man. So you got these situations, man. And because I want to go a little bit. I want to unpack some of this stuff, man, with these guys. So y'all got so one of the things that comes out in the reporting about Baltimore are these murders, right? So, you got these, these months or whatever, or these years where even right now, apparently, you've got like 300 murderers out of, a population of 600,000 people.
650,000.
Yeah.
And it was, I think the worst was 93, 94, when it was like about 357 murders.
Yeah.
And what makes it really crazy is the fact of the matter, even now, because they're getting uptake in violence.
Yeah.
You wanted, since Freddie Gray, they wanted this hands-off policing, and it's biting in the ass.
Okay.
We're not enforcing anything.
Yeah.
You go after the people causing trouble. Leave the hard-earning, working people alone.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times in my heart of hearts, when I got hired, they were looking for people with military background, looking for people who were a little bit more hard charging. Yeah. Now they're looking for people who are just politically correct.
Got it.
There's an incident on World Star where it actually happened in my old district, right up on Gorsuch and Old York. Okay. Gorsuch and Greenmount, in between that area. Okay. And you had these suspects. They're trying to, grab this one guy, and he grabs the keys from the officer and runs off. And I'm thinking to myself, my boy Mike White, he works for the county now. We used to work together in the city.
Yeah.
I asked him, "What do you think would have happened if that was us?" Mm-hmm. He said, "Falk, you would have broke his jaw." I'm like, because of that level of disrespect. First of all, you don't let people get that close to you.
Yeah.
What if he snatched our gun out?
Yeah.
Instead of some keys. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking at this like, you're getting these softer, kinder, gentler police. Because you're afraid that people are going to say, "Oh, it's police." And I'm going to say this: there's a fine line between brutality, and justifiable force.
Yeah.
If the guy stands up in a fighting position, swinging at me, and he gets taken down, thrown down, knocked down, and he's still being a combative person, that's fair. That's justified force.
Gotcha.
If the person surrenders, and after he surrenders, I hit him again, now we enter the realm of brutality.
Got it.
So when I look at these things, there was a fine line that I always said, look, you can say whatever you want to me.
Yeah.
But as long as you listen to the law, I don't care.
Yeah.
I had people threaten, I'll beat your ass if you didn't have this gun in the badge. So I said, okay, I'm not going to touch my gun, and I'm going to put my badge right around. Okay. Make me a believer. And he ran off.
Ooh.
I said, so this is the point. I don't think I'm the toughest guy in the world, but like me, you got to remember it.
Yeah.
And it's like a level of respect you have to have you're supposed to have for men.
Yeah.
Because other men walking around, we know one of us may not make it back home, or both of us.
Oh.
Then you have a respectful person who's a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
Because they have a certain level of authority. We're here to help you, not hurt you.
Yeah.
Trust me, I don't get brownie points for locking people up.
Yeah.
How should I know? I made 6 felony arrests in 6 days.
Yeah.
But they gave a white boy officer the month for writing for 5 tickets.
Wow.
Quality arrests. People who were nuisance to the community.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. But listen, in that vein, man, what are your thoughts, man? What did you think about the whole call from the woke people and stuff like that for like defunding the police and stuff like that?
This is what happens when you have a gynocentric mind mixed with wokeism.
Okay. Charles, there's something with your audio, man. I need you to something going on with your audio. I can hear you.
What about now?
I can hear you.
Let me go out and come back.
Okay.
What about now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah, great. Yeah.
It's like I said, it's a combination of gynocentric mindset
Yeah.
and wokeism. And the reason why I had to bring up the gynocentric mindset is that very few women think long term.
Yeah.
And they're teaching their boys to think the same way.
Yeah.
So instead of having a 1 year, 5 year, 10-year, 20-year plan, a lot of these guys are coming up defund the police because it sounds easy, it sounds fun. You know what defunding the police means? You're not going to get the most trained. You're not going to get the most technologically advanced officers. You're probably going to be at a deficit when it comes to officers. So if we don't have enough officers covering the ground that's closest to you, guess what? The next officer might have to come 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away. And lights and sirens through traffic, good luck. So when you think about it, we could spend more on officers getting proper hand-to-hand combat, because the more an officer is physically fit and can use their hands, feet, knees, and not chokeholds, but joint locks, they're less likely to use the gun in situations where you have options. Yes, there's sometimes you go straight for the gun. There's some situations you do. But to lessen that, why don't you pay for proper hand-to-hand combat? Dude, why not pay for, people who are experts in diffusing situations? To defund the police is to defund yourself of proper protection. Simply put. You should want to pay the police, because guess what? What if that was your wife, your grandmother, your grandfather, your father, your sister, your kids who needs the help? You want them to be the most professional, the fittest, the most fierce, the most intelligent people you could get. If you're going to defund the police, that means you're going to defund making competitive pay. So guess what? You're not going to get the best of the best. You're not going to get the brightest of the best. People don't understand simple economics.
Yeah. I mean, that's real. I never subscribed to that idea, man. It didn't make any sense, and I didn't think that. So here we are, 2 years out, with Biden and everything like that, and that helped him. Well, partially helped him get elected, but he was never serious about that, given his history and all that. You know what I mean?
Biden's very pro-police.
Yeah, he's pro-police, and a lot of black people are pro-police. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's and notice. I'm glad you said that, Doc.
Yeah.
How many times do you see shows or documentaries where the police, for the most part, I got along with 95% of the people I met. Probably
Yeah.
98 if I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
There's times when I was on 4th of July and I wish I could be out back grilling or one of my friends' parties.
Yeah.
You know what the community did? Hey, officer, we made some food. Thank you for serving and making sure
Yeah.
we're safe. You know, they did nothing to the food, everything. They made it. They said, I know how you might feel. We're going to make it right in front of you. And
Yeah.
people look out. You know, it was one time you had 3 people rob the store, and the security officer, because I frequent the comic book shop in Belvedere Square so much, they knew exactly where to find me because they seen my car. They were like, okay, which is, he's here.
Yeah.
And thanks to her description, the security officer's description, and the weird direction of travel, I caught all 3.
Uh-huh.
That's called community policing. The community should rely on the police, and the police should rely on the community.
On the community.
We got away from that because we believe some narratives that are not true just from people who just only want to get elected. They don't want to be better. They don't want to make a community better. They just want the money. They just want the power. They just want to line their pockets. A physics teacher said this best. When you go voting, vote for the other guy. Give somebody else a chance to steal some money.
Yeah, and in that vein, man, because there are 2 things. Number one, before you even go there, community policing, man. So, and you mentioned this earlier about people getting firearms and stuff like that, and learning how to use the firearms, training, man. So I'm gonna go back, man. I go back to the whole, like, the Black Panther model, man. You know, they emerged because they felt in Oakland, California, that they needed to protect themselves, and dealing with the police situation. And California at that particular time was an open carry state, and it was part of the Constitution and all that kind of stuff. And they started out as patrols, you know, and now what no one says about the Panthers is that the patrol was not only about defending themselves against the police, but it was also about just general safety. You know what I mean? And yeah, and so I'm interested to hear your thoughts, man. Um, do you think that we're in a situation now? And I'm assuming that you think this way, but I'm asking you anyway. Or you can elaborate on this in terms of people being organized and protecting themselves and all of that. I mean, is that where we are now?
To be in my professional opinion,
Okay.
we were there 10 years ago.
Okay.
We were almost there 23 years ago with Columbine.
Got it.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because I predicted this years ago with a partner of mine in the department.
Yeah.
And I said the way the crime is, the way the level of weaponry the criminals are getting their hands on,
Yeah.
we're going to have to up the ante. Our tactics are going to have to change. Our weaponry is going to have to be included. And the same thing goes for the citizen.
Yeah.
Do I believe it should ban the AR-15s? No. I think more people should have them. In case the crazy people who have them tries to start shooting, you can combat evil.
Yeah.
The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
There you go.
And see, we have this false sense of security.
Yeah.
That nothing happened.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, guess what? You may be ordained by God to protect people.
Yeah.
You never know what God may have in store for you.
Yeah.
You may be the reason why you're here. Keep these people safe.
Yeah.
To keep your family safe. To keep your community safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it. Do you think if that was an open carry state or an open carry area in Buffalo, that guy would have got away with that shit?
No. Man.
But we think gun bans and gun laws are going to work for people who don't follow the law in the first place.
Yeah.
What's a law to a criminal?
Yeah, it is. And think about it, because even in both of those situations, in Buffalo and even in Texas, Uvalde, Um, you had situations. So in Buffalo, there was only one, a guy who was there, ex-police officer, um, who did the heroic thing, um, and lost his life, along with those others. But he was the only one that was armed, right there. You know what I mean? And he was armed security.
Yep.
Um, and and then I'm finding out as I learn more about this Texas situation. You know, there are parents. I saw a story. I saw a story of a woman who was to get her children.
Yeah.
She ran into the school to get her kids, and they had to like hold her back and stuff like that. And she was like, "If y'all ain't gonna do anything, we need to do something." You know what I'm
And
saying?
I'm gonna tell you. Did you hear about the story about the border patrol agent who was getting off duty, getting a haircut, borrowed his barber's shotgun,
Hmm.
and because his wife was a teacher there, somebody shooting in the school.
Yeah.
I'm scared and I love you. That man took that shotgun,
Mm.
went blazing speed, and went into that damn place. Not only did he get his wife, he got his daughter, and he rescued other kids.
Yeah.
See, see, this is the part. Notice you don't get too much publicity for him or Officer Earn in Buffalo, which are heroes. And it's like I said on my channel before.
Yeah.
Have you noticed the heroes of the country right now are not the white man?
They're not-
It's the black and the brown one.
That's right.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
I've said
Yeah.
it last year
Yeah.
at January 6, 2021.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black man, the white man has given you the keys to the kingdom when it comes to protection because they
Yeah.
can't trust their own anymore.
They can't trust. There you go. There you
They
go.
can't trust their own. You need to monopolize this military, monopolize these fire departments, monopolize these police departments. But how many people are going to listen? Is the question.
Yeah. 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 And I don't see any other alternative, man. And it's funny because I saw this happening. Once COVID hit, and people were losing their jobs and resources were becoming more scarce. I mean, you just knew that it would create a more volatile situation. People gonna get desperate, and you don't have enough police out here to protect people. Okay, uh, and to respond on time and efficiently,
What did
effectively.
they say? What did they say? You have what? 355 million Americans,
Yeah,
but you have little under or little over a million law enforcement officers combined. That's not even a percent.
yeah,
So yes, protection is going to have to be. We It fluctuates from anywhere to a million law enforcement officers to anywhere as low as 800,000.
yeah.
Remember, protection is not only the police's responsibility; it's yours.
It's yours. It is yours. It is yours. And when you're dealing with a situation like Baltimore and other places that's like the Wild Wild West. I mean, if you live in the Wild Wild West, man, as you said, you just can't allow just only the bad guys, or the bad actors, to be armed. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that's just the reality of it. And the woke people, these woke people, just they live in a very kumbaya, uh, utopian kind of world. You know what I'm saying? And no one, and it's crazy. I mean, Biden is not going. I mean, no one is going to restrict any gun laws, anything like that, or gun purchases. There's not going to be any modifications and stuff like that. Um, but that's yeah, man. That's where we're at, man. And so we're on 2 hours, man. I just want to, before we go too far, man. The political situation, man. So in Baltimore, I mean, it's a Democratic, bastion. And it seems as though it hasn't prospered, man, um, under Democratic rule and under this current Democratic way of doing things. Um, do you think that it's time for a sea change? You think that that these black folks just need to start all over again from scratch and kick these people out of office and not vote for these people who run as Democratic politicians?
I think that one, like I told you over the phone, good doctor, you're going to need a Republican mayor to change things. A different mindset, a different way of thinking. This Democratic rule or stronghold for what, 70 years? 70 years. 70, and you have no improvements.
No improvements.
70 years and your children are doing worse than school.
Worse.
And everybody's making all these excuses to keep these Republicans in office, who mean you no well doing. They're basically siphoning money. They're siphoning education away from you to other people. Hell, the only thing Democrats have benefited were people who are not even American citizens.
Yeah.
Think about this. In the Ukraine, they're giving money to HBCUs for those Ukrainians who come over as refugees, a free education, and schools that were for you.
For you, yep.
Make that make sense.
It makes no sense.
But yet, if I want to send my son to school,
yeah.
I either have to have him go to the Army or be in the military myself, or fork over some cash so he can get a proper education.
Yeah.
And then maybe he might find a career.
Yeah.
Maybe he might find a job.
Yeah.
Maybe. And that's the hypocrisy of it all. You know, you got a regime or an administration that talks about gun control, but you armed the fucking Taliban.
Yeah. That's it.
To make that make sense.
It makes no sense.
But yet, it's funny. Even during the Iraq War,
we trained them.
Yeah, trained them as well. Gave them vehicles, everything. Here's the keys. And here's the craziest part, right? Even during war, an Iraqi was allowed to keep an AK with 2 45-round magazines for protection. But over here in America, no. You can't get no 30-round magazine. Well, we can in Maryland. That's why I get them in Pennsylvania. But anyway. Man. Always a pleasure with you, Doc. Always a pleasure.
Man. Always, man. Just as we wrap up, man, tell the folks more about Black Line Security and what your vision is, and creating opportunities for men, particularly Black men, and all that kind of stuff, man. And I put the link to your channel in the chat. But just tell us as we close out, man. Just talk a little bit about Black Line Security.
Definitely appreciate that, good doctor. Yes, Black Line Security, which has been established on March 16th, 2022. The founder and commander and the CEO of Black Line Security, yours truly, Charles L. Faulkner Jr. His experience dating from law enforcement for nearly a decade and a half, and also with over a decade of experience in military service. Black Line Security, we're striving to become a premier security agency and firm to solve your security, armed and unarmed, your private investigational, and your executive protection needs. We're going to come out we have a GoFundMe currently for training, and we're going to come out with another nonprofit organization, and we're going to try to get young Black men into security firms trained up and put the responsibilities of protecting our communities back in the hands of young Black men instead of putting the hands of destruction in theirs. We're going to try to go to Florida where I have a network with people from Israeli Tactical. I want all my officers to become SWAT qualified, executive protection qualified, handgun, shotgun, and rifle qualified. We want to salute and support the needs of the community and the country with old school logic and 21st century techniques and technology. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for having me again, Doc.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate you. And we look forward to having this chat again.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
You guys in the chat, I appreciate you guys for being with us for another Man Professor broadcast. You guys, you all enjoy what's left of this evening and enjoy the rest of the weekend. I will see you guys soon. So you all take care. This is the Mad Professor signing off.